nowadays you wouldn't say that. You would just say, look, cousin JoJo, he just a little off, baby. He just a little
Right.
off. That's all they would
Mhm.
say.
Right.
Not trying to define what that off was.
Mhm. And I
Yes, not
think,
discussed enough.
yeah, and we have to remember the power of the words that we speak over people,
Mm-hmm.
because you tell a person enough that they're crazy, they begin to think that they are. And
Mhm.
now they got a whole different situation, and it's something that somebody has imparted in you. So
Oh
if
yeah.
somebody has convinced you that you have a mental illness, the thing that will help someone who does is not going to help you, because the root problem is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
So we always, that's what we were saying earlier, you always have to find the root of the issue, what it was. Because I know,
Yes.
you know, dealing with, like, I've had, 5 siblings that's passed away. And sometimes if you don't focus and you don't get your mind right, that can send you spiraling.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's even I mean, now, especially for me at my age now, I really understand it so much more. That's why I can speak to people about it. Because when you come from a family of 13, that's part of your foundation.
Yeah.
Everything you've done and do, they have always been there to cheer you on or to congratulate you. And now when that's stripped away from you, it's almost like a part of your foundation is gone. So
Mhm.
in your mind, you have to find a way to fill that empty void. Luckily for me, I got God, and Jesus really helped me. But everybody don't have that ability to tap into the spiritualness and say, okay, God, help me, help me with that empty void. And so that will send you into a state of what we call mental illness, because in your mind, you've seen people where you see, once someone pass away, they just become a whole different person.
Yeah.
Everything about,
Yeah.
because it's they haven't dealt with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I
And
was
so,
speaking with a client I just obtained. She runs a personal care home, and there's a beautiful young lady that's there, and she's so sweet. And she came out, she was talking to me, and I'm just, I talk to everybody, what's up. And when the young lady went back inside and the owner came out, she says, well, she's one of my patients. And I was like, really? I said, she's so sweet. And she says, you wouldn't believe what she's gone through in a matter of just,
Mhm.
like 6 months time. And I was said, what happened? And she said, well, her mother passed away. And then 2 months later, the father, then 3 months
Mhm.
later, the twin sister. And it just, when the twin sister passed away, it just took her to this place of, she don't know what today is, basically. And
Mhm.
she said the lady, she said she's very intelligent. She said she was worked for a news station, news place or something, news publishing company. And she said
Mhm.
she's just, very intelligent. And she says, but when her sister passed away, it just really just took her off. And like Pastor Lorenzo said, so many people go through some tough things, and it just takes them to a whole different thought process. And a lot of it, I'm not a psychiatrist or counselor or doctor or anything like that, but I think some of it just takes them to a point where they want to try and block out so much that they're actually blocking out the present time as well.
mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's what we was talking about earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's it's sad in some cases. And like Pastor Burns, I want to go back to what you were saying as far as the sometimes in certain cultures, we don't want to really deal with it or discuss
Mhm.
it. We just let it go. Um, I really would like for our Black culture to get more involved with making sure that they can seek the professional help that their family members need, instead of just pushing it off as, oh, that's just them. That's just them. And knowing that there's an imbalance, I will say, with
Mhm.
I really wish people would do more of that.
You know, there are to equip our village, right? To
Right.
what you're saying about, us being courageous to tackle it. There are tools and resources out there for those of us who are employed and have benefits. There is EAP, which a lot of corporations are starting to embrace and have with you. Work-life balance is huge with corporations because they're trying to keep the people as they
Mhm.
filter it out. That's what, but EAP allows you to seek some counseling services, a number of them, whether it's financial, legal, mental health. And then even for children, they have other components where they can do text messaging with counselors. So it actually, they have Talkspace, they have Headspace. There are tools to meet you where you are. And I know that we have pointed out some of the more extreme examples of mental health where people just break because they've gone through trauma. I want to highlight for the village the milder and sometimes maybe ignored or overlooked symptoms of it is, trauma can be a divorce. A lot of the Black community is divorced and single parents. So a lot of you guys have gone through trauma. Trauma can be as simple as losing a friend and they don't have to die. They can just be removed from your life. And now you have that alone feeling that in a smaller version of the story of the sister who's lost all of her parents and her twin. That could be that best friend could be your childhood best friend, and at high school you guys are separated, and you're trying to figure out college and struggling in college, and now you're struggling with these newfound mental health components, and you feel like I should be able to handle this because this is what everyone does in adulting. Why is this too hard for me? So just know, village, there's layers to it. When we talk about mental health, everybody has a mind, and the levels of how well it is or how ill it is depends on how much we feed into it. So I'm hoping today you guys are picking up what we're putting down.
I love how you said that too. That's so beautifully said. Instead of just saying they have a mental illness, what the words you use?
Wellness, mental wellness.
Something. I'm going to rewind this back because
I don't even know.
Because you said it so beautifully said, and because sometimes when we even say the word mental illness or mental wealth, some people won't receive it well. So I'm going to rewind this back after we finish watching this, and I ask you all to do the same thing because there was so much juice in here before y'all came on. But we have to learn how to better communicate what it is that we want to get across, because some words are trigger words.
That's what we were talking about earlier.
Yes, yeah. So I'm loving y'all having this conversation.
How about we all have trigger words? So let's take time to identify ours. We're talking about some people. What are yours, village?
Yes.
I'm gonna tell a story, and I hope it's okay because it is a personal one. We this week I was traveling, and so I'm en route trying to help someone to pick up their car, and I'm in an area like an hour away from my house. Well, I'm headed to try to pick up my kids, and then they are on their way to run an errand, so they're headed an hour to the direction I was going. And so long story short, we're trying to align, we're trying to figure out, I'm following someone, and they actually are trying to call me, and I'm on the other line trying to figure out where I'm going because my sense of direction, you guys, is terrible. But in it all, I had learned that a trigger for a part of my party was not being able to have the phone answered for them. They recently lost their spouse, and so now it's just them. So not being able to have that person on the other end when you're calling for help or when you're in need or need clarity can be a trigger. The phone ringing can be a trigger for someone past a certain time because they got a call at midnight and their parents were in a bad accident. So anytime the phone rings after 11 is a trigger for that person. So, village, I encourage you that the call to action is make sure you identify your triggers, even if they're words, knowing what gets your emotions going.
Right. And I think that's what we were saying. If we can understand the root of where they're at, it's easy for us to understand them. I remember this story about this young kid. He and when you think about something really great happening, you think, oh, they should be excited and thankful and just like, oh, I'm so glad. But the opposite happened because him and his family, they went on a plane ride, and half was in one plane and half was in the other plane. So the plane that he was on, that plane crashed.
Oh, wow.
Everybody passed away. He was the only survivor. And he went through so much thinking, okay, why did I survive? So he couldn't even be happy. And we would look at that like, oh, he must be crazy or whatever when we see him going through certain things, because he should be excited he survived. But all that went with that trauma makes him now, he may act really different. Well, he decided him and some other family members went somewhere on another trip. The same thing happened. The plane crashed. He was the only survivor again.
What?
And he said, in his mind, it's like, he said it was very difficult to be thankful to be alive, because it's like, I don't understand why come this has happened and keep happening to me. But we would look at him and like, well, he should be crazy. You should be thankful that you're alive. But it's we have to understand that whole situation, because now what is really technically a positive has become a negative. So now when you mention planes or family traveling or whatever, it may trigger him to get really anxious. And people are like, well, I don't understand. I just said something about taking her out on a plane, and now you have sent him through this whole thing, and you wonder why. So we have to be understanding and think, what did I just say that caused that reaction?
Yeah.
So and taking the time to not be defensive, people's mental health, the outsiders, we may laugh, we may get offended, but it's just emotion, y'all. It's really talking through the logic of what's going on up here so we can get to a healthy place. So there's a show called Survivor's Remorse, and that concept of feeling some type of way. I've met people who, when something good happens, they are like in this space of, okay, I'm just waiting for the bottom to fall out. I'm just waiting for the bottom to fall out. And it's like your mind is trapped in this jail of fear and anxiety. That's an anxiety starts developing, depression starts developing. And that's coping mechanisms to what's going on up here. And so talking helps you to get it out of here, to organize it, whether, however it needs to be organized, but at least getting it out is important.
My brother, the one that passed away a few years back, he was like, I tell people, he was my biggest fan. I don't care what I did, he was just right there. And when I did my play Step Aside Son, Daddy's Home, I remember, he was there, and he was for years after that's all he had, Step Aside Son, Daddy's Home, and it was just, he just loved it. So now, probably next year, I will be redoing that play. But I've thought about it for a while, and it was very kind of difficult in the beginning to think about doing it, because I'm like, I know he would love to be there, and he's not going to be there. And that's what I was saying about your foundation shook, because now like that part is not there. Because I know that, and every time I do a play or anything, I know he would be the first one that would say, hey, I'm gonna be there. Every time I get a new home or something, he will be one I know that will be here. And so you have to just look at things like that. And that's why I say your mental stability is so important, because I've got some family members that will never visit, because in their mind, they just don't want to see the progress.
Wow.
And then you have the ones that would be here, they're no longer here. So you have to balance it, and you have to be able to look at the situation, look at the circumstance, and understand where they came from, why they handle things, why they deal with things the same way. And it could be a trigger for them to see somebody come from where they come at, but yet that person is doing better. Maybe that put them in a mindset that makes them not comfortable. So therefore, they have to stay away. So you don't hold them accountable for that. And that's how you keep from getting into that mental state of, well, they should love me, they should do. You have to just look at the story behind the action of who's ever doing whatever, so you can have a better understanding of how to deal with them.
Yeah, it's easier to deal with people who you don't know, who are not close to you. When you have success, it's easier to deal with those. Some would call them haters, but it's harder to deal with your loved ones that you think really should be supporting you. And when they see your success, they're not happy. That's a very difficult place. And you know what that could do? Thank you, Holy Spirit. That can have people to stand still and not move forward in their life ventures. Because they simply want their family's love and support, even if that supports mean they sit there and be still.
Now you said something, success in their success.
Yeah.
Success can be as small as progress with your mental health village. Like, hey, today I didn't flip out on the drunk cars in traffic. I was able to meditate and listen to the melody. But your family may say, I'm not getting in the car with you because you're going to be driving crazy and flipping out on people with road rage. But you've been going 6 months with meditating on the road and no triggers. And you're like, I'm not that same person anymore. Why can't they see my success? It's important. You can't your sanity and your health starts here. Like the world may not see it yet or be able to give you those accolades. So just knowing and counting your progress too. So I really appreciate you hitting on the topic of success.
Yes, I was watching a documentary by Sylvester Stallone's life.
Mm-hmm.
And he was speaking of his father, and he was saying that his father was very, very tough on them, him and his brother. But not only that, his father was very jealous of his success.
Mm-hmm.
And that really bothered Sylvester Stallone on his journey to try and be successful. But Sylvester Stallone would not allow that to stop his success. And the greater he got and the better he was at his career, the further apart he was from his father. And so it's really something, because some people, again, like we said previously, some people want to stay attached, even if it means they don't go forward. But some people, they're so driven to go forward, they will detach. And so it's almost as though they're at a crossroad and they're like, now, what are we going to do? Some will travel with you and some may not. So what do you do? And for your own mental health, you have to choose what best fits you. Now, some people say, oh, you should just leave them, go and do what you want to do. But some people's choice is to not venture forward. It is to stay with that family member. There's a lot of wives that cut their careers and stuff because they don't want the husband being upset. There's a lot of that happens. And so some people's comfort is in, okay, I'll just wait. I won't move forward. Or I won't do anything, and they drop it. I was talking with my grandmother, who's resting in heaven. She probably running heaven up there, child, next to Jesus. And I was speaking to her, and she told me my grandmother's always been the greatest one in our family, with the greatest amount of faith, the greatest amount of trust in God, the greatest amount of knowledge of God. And I was talking to her one day, and she said, I really wanted to be a preacher. And I said, well, why didn't you, Grandma? You'd be great. She says, your grandfather didn't want me to, and so I chose not to. And even after my grandfather passed away, I was like, why don't you be a preacher? And she was like, no, she said, it's too late now. And it's just amazing because she chose the love over her husband over really her love of what she wanted to do. So she made that choice. So again, that's the reason why I said that it's not wrong of people to make the choice, but it's what they're comfortable in. And she wasn't really comfortable in it, but it was just her comfort in knowing that she did not want that divide with her husband. Now, some women are brave enough to say, man, forget you. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to do this because this is what I want to do. That's too.
And if you're in a position where you can navigate not doing what you love without it bringing you to a bad state mentally, that's okay too.
Right.
But you have to be in a position, and I'll take me for an example. I know God wanted me to do plays, books, movies, and all that stuff and everything. And a lot of that stuff, I be trying to say, come on, Greta, babe, you want to do this? She's like, no, that's not my thing. But at the same time, she don't allow what I want to do to make her feel like, oh, well, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that. But I learned ways to include her even without her being like directly involved.
Right.
But you have to have that balance in that conversation to know that, how do you feel about this? What do you think about this? And that's how you have to do it, because you're always going to have something that maybe somebody may want to do that you don't want to do. And if you allow that to stifle who you are, that's where the mental part come in at. Because in your mind, you're like, I want to grow. I want to do this. I want to do that. But if I don't do that, it's going to make them mad and they can be upset. So maybe I got to wait for them. And so maybe when they get ready. And then what you're doing is you're slowly draining who you are to be who they want you to be. Yes. Now what's going to happen is once you become who they want you to be, now they're no longer happy with you because you're not who they fell in love with. Because now you have transformed to who they want you to be. But in all actuality, now they upset because when I met you, you was motivated. When I met you, you was outgoing. And now you're not. And it's like, well, if I do all those things, I'm gonna be the person that you're intimidated by. If I don't, I'm gonna be the person that now you're upset with because I'm not those things. So that's why you have to find that even common ground where you can ever so gently continue on that trajectory of where you want to go, so that you don't lose yourself in trying to be what someone else envisioned you to be.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm so happy you hit on that because, everybody's soul, we have a purpose, So if you choose not to operate in your purpose or your gift, that could do something mentally to you because your spirit is thriving for something or was created to serve or feed the village something. The village needs you. So it will, when your mind, heart, and soul are not aligned in God's purpose for you, it does make things internally a bit chaotic. So I love that we got two examples of making that choice. The family, the friends, sometimes losing them can affect our mental health.
Yeah.
Sometimes keeping them and staying connected can affect you if you're not mentally prepared for what that balance means.
Ooh.
So I appreciate that you guys hitting on that.
Mhm.
And the thing I want the village to understand, first of all, is this, that your destiny is not tied to your family, because your family may come from a trajectory to where they're only going to go so far. If they truly love you, they're going to understand you going forward. If
Mhm.
they say that, oh, well, now I don't love you because you're doing this, you're doing that. So should you sacrifice who you are to get a love that's not genuine?
Mm.
Because when you sacrifice who you are for conditional love, that love is not real, because real love will push you and project you to be who you want to be. Even if they say, hey, look, I can't do all that, but I'm back here, I'm with you, I'm supporting you. So we just have to realize that don't allow your love for your family to ever diminish the fire that God has put in you to be someone great, or to be this attorney or this movie star, whatever's in you. You have to let it grow, because when you diminish that, you distinguish your fire, and then you're sitting there and you have nothing to give because you allowed someone else to put it out.
Yeah, a lot of people don't want to hear that their family is not part of their destiny. As far as that, a lot of people
Mhm.
don't want to hear that. They're like, oh, especially some of us in our Black culture, we're like, oh,
Mhm.
don't be trying to take me away from my family. But you're right, Pastor Lorenzo. For the people that it fits with, it
Mhm.
may not fit with everyone. And the reason why I'm breaking it down like that, thank you, Holy Spirit, to define it. The reason why I'm breaking it down is because I don't want people to feel as though this road is the right road for them and everybody. You
Mhm.
Right.
have you have to be able to define what's going to be best for you. But in some cases, even myself, I had some family members that weren't on the road of being along with me in my venture and business choices and careers and stuff like that. And I had to choose what fit me the best.
Mhm.
And what happens with some family members is they stall you. They just put you in a,
Right.
if they don't stop you, they'll stall you as long as they
Mhm.
can. And
Mm-hmm.
so I wrote this down and I want you guys to remember this. The only stalls in your life should be the ones in your new barn. And the reason why I'm saying in your new barn is because that, just picture it. Your beautiful house that you want to get. Why are you doing all this stuff anyway? Why are you doing all these careers? What goal do you have in mind? My goal is to really have this beautiful, like homestead place where people can come, get have conversations, get healing, get be in a protective space where they can open up, they can have conversations with one another, and they can leave totally changed from the day they came in the gate. Because yes, there will be a gate. And so, and on that beautiful plantation, I want it to be a beautiful barn where people can, also have celebration and so forth,
Mhm.
and even with animals and so forth. So my vision is, and that's the way I kind of relate my stuff. I'm not going to allow you to stall me, but the word stall is a trigger to some people. So you have to
Mhm.
sometimes put the word in a positive place
Right.
so that it does not stop you.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes.
It's so funny. We can learn from people and things. I remember, um, what's his name is Chris Daughtry. He was on American Idol,
Mm.
and did real well. I think he made it fourth or fifth or whatever.
I think
But
I remember
um,
them.
what he did was he said him and his band, they got together, had a conversation, and said, "Look, we know that we want to make it." So he
Hmm.
said, "What we have to do," he said, "I'm gonna go on the show because they decided who's the best of us that can go." He said they all got together, they picked him, he went on the show, and he did really well. Then after the show, then he had such a large following, he was so good that then he said, okay, now people were saying, look, what do you want? He said, only way I can go further, I have to bring my band with me. And it was like, oh, that's all. And so sometimes you have to make it to greatness and then bring the others along.
Mm-hmm.
Because you by yourself can be the key to open the door. You as a group with them will block the door from opening up.
Right. So many of us. Harriet couldn't bring everybody the first time she got to the so she went, you know.
Right.
She went back for the rest. You guys hit on some stuff. Oh, go ahead.
She knew the path to go, though. Go ahead. She knew the path.
She had to walk it first. And so a couple of things, family fit in your purpose.
Yeah.
One of the components of that, and not to feel bad, you guys, well, I'll say this, because I don't know if this is labeled as a crazy characteristic, but narcissism, y'all, if you are not a narcissist and you're dealing with one, either way, you're both about to be crazy. But because we have the mentality we're great and every person in our life is an attachment to us. So they should move in our purpose. They should be operating how, you know, they're part of my tribe, my team to make me great. And so remembering that, like, you may have somebody who has this huge anxiety of being on a stage, and you are, you know, doing stage plays and theatrics, and, you know, that is your space. That's where you come alive. But your partner, oh no, they freeze up, anxiety. You're going to send them their levels up all over the place. And so knowing that your purpose is just specially for you, you don't have to bring everybody along, and you have to be careful. Not everybody's equipped to come along. You may be causing more trauma for other people. My village of narcissists out there, you know, let's watch out. But the other part, we talk about being like, you know, choosing to, or allowing yourself. Let me start with this. Seeds. We talked about a lot of seeds today. Having a little bit of faith, believing, the seeds of what you allow to fester with the trauma and triggers, and then the seeds of love. If you are, stalling yourself, or masking yourself to adapt or adjust to the person that you love because this is the way they like you to move or how they want you to handle stuff, that could be the seed of developing this fear for you being true to yourself, because now I've allowed myself to adjust to this box. But what if I want to be myself again or walk in my purpose? Will that person love me? Will the world love me? Will anybody love me? So I just wanted to highlight that, you guys. We talked about a lot of seeds. So really in that mental health is it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, y'all. It's a whole lot of planning and stuff that got found foundationally set. That don't mean the soil was right, but it's still sitting up in there.
Yes, I love that. And going back to like what Pastor Lorenzo said between him and his beautiful wife, Greta. Hey, Greta. Hey, girl. Hey. That's my girl right there. She's such a beautiful person. She's so creative in what her creativity is. Greta is a mover and a shaker behind the scenes. She will move a mountain and you won't even know it's gone until you look up and it's gone. She's that good and that swift and that fast. She has her gift. And I was thinking about this when Pastor Lorenzo was saying this too. Sometimes we can cause our spouses to go into a place where they feel they are triggered, you know, because we try and force them to do what we know we want them to do, but it's not their gift. It's not what they're wanting to do. So it's just a lot for people to understand as far as relationship, especially in marriages. You have to be careful with that. My husband, he's not a camera person either. That is not his thing. He's like, no, but I tell you, when stories come out, he'll give it to him real quick. He's like, listen, I emailed you this. You better get on it. You better get on it. He is real good at what he does. I told him, I said, you are my producer. I said,
that's part of knowing who is and who's not, because when you know that person, you know why put them in an uncomfortable position that's gonna not only frustrate them, but it's gonna hurt you because it doesn't look good. You know, so we have to just make sure that we are paying attention and stuff. But we really wanted to just bring and people to start looking at mental illness in a different light. It's not always bad or negative. There are some people who are dealing with it, and I don't like saying struggling, but I say dealing with it, and you may not even know because in a sense, they carry it so well, I would say, or they've dealt with it, or they learn how to navigate it. And once you learn how to navigate whatever's bothering you or whatever's dealing with you, then you can continue to propel yourself through life. And like I said, for me, I'm doing a whole lot of things now that coming up I would have never thought I could do. Because when I was coming up, my mentality was, and I tell people because I'm not ashamed of it, but my mentality was that being a dishwasher was something I just loved because I was so good at it. And I never understood until I started thinking, see, my father was a dishwasher for years until he retired. And he never pushed us to be anything. I remember once after I had quit washing dishes and I went to visit my dad, and then I had been working at the bank for probably about maybe 7 to 8 years at the time. And everybody in the family was talking about my good job and how well I was doing. And I had rented a car, and my dad was like, I just never understood how as a janitor you could afford to drive a car like that. And I said, Pop, I'm not a janitor. I work at the bank. And it took him the longest. He was like, well, ain't you a janitor at the bank? And I'm like, no, I'm in banking. I'm doing finance and stuff. And in his mind, he just couldn't understand what that was because he always pushed us to have a consistent, steady job and be the best at whatever you do. Because he never could see beyond. Because I think Pop had like an 8th or 9th grade education. So back then, it wasn't about being intelligent. It was about having a job. So whenever they wanted to promote him at work, he would always say, no, because I'm not educated enough for that. So he was stuck in that spot. So for me, I grew up just wanting a job, just wanting to be steady. So it took a long time for me to say, well, maybe I can be something other than a dishwasher, because I had just never been pushed to do anything other than have a consistent job. And once I got a job, I'm like, hey, I'm working, so I'm good. So we have to be careful of not allowing our base foundation to be our life foundation.
Yes, that's the thing. We have to, you got to understand that you're placed on this planet. Thank you, Holy Spirit, for the goals and visions that you need to bring for the seeds that's going to be following you. So we have to be able to go out there and understand that there are other people that are depending on you and your moves as well. And thank you, Holy Spirit. And I want to say this to some people who feel as though they're not worthy, or maybe they don't feel like it's them. They're like, no, I'm not. I'm going to let you know you're strong enough, you're smart enough, you're gifted enough, you are powerful enough, you have just what it takes. You don't have to replicate or duplicate or imitate somebody else. You are what God has placed on this earth to be for those that will be attracted to you. Thank you, Holy Spirit. A square does not look like a circle, but it has its purpose. It will attract other squares. And there may be some squares that are a whole bunch of circles, and they're trying to figure out, where do I fit in? They're looking for you to come along and let them know there's other squares or circles or so forth, or triangles or so forth. You fit in where you fit in, and there's strength in you. You just have to get out there and get the courage to be able to go out there and be a light and a beacon to show and share with others. I know one of my things when I was younger, even up into my 20s and 30s, I was not courageous enough, thank you, Holy Spirit, to be able to let my light shine, because I was so busy trying to hide behind somebody else's glow. And there's so much power in that. But once I learned that the streets will still light up when I walk down them too, and that I had the power to turn on other people's lights. Once I learned that, you couldn't stop me, and you still can't stop me till today.
And what I tell people when you say that, I will tell people this in the village, and I want them to take a few things away from what we've talked about today before we leave. But it's okay to be the wind beneath somebody's wings, but that don't mean that's your permanent spot.
No.
Because sometimes once you see them floating, it's time for you to back away and fly and let somebody be the wind beneath your wings. So we have to do that. And like I say, we all live in a world now that's how can I say it? In the world that's so fascinated with people who are going through things, people who have problems and issues, and it just seemed to be a thing. And that's why I said to say, if you try to have a reality show based upon somebody with just a normal life, the networks would they know the first thing it says not enough drama.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the people get on, the first thing would say, well, why they acting so crazy? Because that's the only way they're gonna make it on TV. It's them acting crazy because we want to see that, but we have to learn that it's first of all, it's okay to be normal, and it's also normal to not be okay. So, you know,
It might be crazy, and crazy might be normal.
because again, crazy is a perception of what someone's seen and see based upon where they come from.
Mm-hmm.
So you take somebody from the hood, somebody ratchet is like right up their alley. They don't see nothing wrong with it. But then you take somebody from Beverly Hills or somewhere high up and bring them to the hood, everybody's ratchet and crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to look at all of that. And I always tell people when you hear negative things or whatever, look at the pipeline that it came through before you make judgment.
Ooh, there's so much in that. That's a whole 2-hour program. That's so much in that.
Hmm.
So,
You said drama, and I was looking. I wrote trauma, and I was like, oh yeah, they're very one letter off, y'all. Too much drama will cause you trauma.
right.
88, I appreciate you soaking up the knowledge today.
Yes.
And anything that's traumatic is normally coming from drama. See, we don't want to add the two, but we think about it. There are some people who they are addicted to drama.
Mm-hmm.
And they wonder why they have so much trauma in their life. It's because if you take them out of that situation where things are not so dramatic, they really tense. They're on edge because it's like, okay, it's quiet. Then you it's almost like you what they call it when you have military PTSD, because when they come back over here, everything's quiet and they jump in it because it's like they used to the bombs going. You take them over to where the bombs go off, they say they don't have all them issues because mentally they're used to that and that's what they need. But when they come over here, it's like it's so hard to adjust to normal people just waving at you and people not shooting. So we have to look at all of that and understand. We have to process where a person at, where they come from, so we can understand how to deal with them.
Yeah, like my client was just here recently, and he's from Israel. And he stayed at my house, and my husband and I, we had to go to town, but my daughter was here and she stayed with him before. He came up with his son, little son, I think his son about 10 or 11. And my daughter called me and she was like, Mom, she says, why does he leave all the lights on and all the blinds open? And, and I had to explain to her, I said, listen, he does not like the dark.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why he does not like the dark, and he always wants to be able to see out, and he does, he leaves every blind in the house open, he leaves every light on, because they're so used to the bombs going off. He's got to see how to get to the safe shelter to get his kids in the bomb shelter. And so they leave the lights on. So to her, it seemed weird. And she was like, there's something off with him. And I'm like, no, sweetheart. There's not. You just have not lived in his world to understand.
Right.
You don't understand. So when I explained it to her, she says, okay, Mom, I understand. I'll stop turning the lights off, because she was going behind him, turning everything off, and he was not understanding, because I spoke to him and I said, you're safe. You're okay. I said, but if you want to leave all the lights on, fine. I'm okay with that. But his question to me was, why does she like it dark? So they were both living in worlds that they weren't understanding, because and I told her, I said, well, listen, you think he's weird, he thinks you weird, but you both are very much saying, you both there's nothing mentally wrong with either one of you. It's just you have to experience a world where someone comes from before you be able to talk negatively about that person.
Yes. All right, then when we get ready to wrap up, we just I'm just thankful that we're able to speak about a subject that a lot of people are scared to speak about, or, they feel like, well, if I tell somebody I'm seeing a counselor or a psychiatrist, whatever, it must mean I'm crazy, or if I can't deal with this or whatever. And just life itself can steer you in a place where people look at you strange only because they don't know what is driving you to that position. Correct. So don't let what the world label as crazy don't hold her to that title. Don't ever let someone put a title on you that you yourself does not put on yourself.
And be patient with others. Be very
Mm-hmm.
patient with people. Be loving. Try to come from a respectful place,
Mm-hmm.
and understand that if you look at somebody and they seem different to you, if they're not causing a physical threat to you, then I would say just view it as maybe there's something different in their world that I have not become familiar with. And don't look at them in a harsh way. I have to have my husband sometime because he's a glazer. He will glaze, he will stare because he's trying to mentally, his wheels are turning. He's like, I'm trying to figure this out. But in his glaze and his stare, sometimes it makes the person uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And I have to explain to him, babe, come back over here. Let's focus right here. You're okay. But in his glaze, he's like, he's not trying to be harmful. He's just trying to
Trying to figure it out.
compartmentalize what's
Mhm.
going on. And so sometimes that can also trigger that person and come off as a harmful method. But I want you guys to know it's not. And you guys, we got to be more loving. We got to be more understanding, because one of the greatest triggers to someone who does have some things that they're trying to get through life with, one of the greatest triggers is for us to really be combative with them, to be speak harmful to them, and to really look down on them as though we're greater than them. So we've got to be careful with us and how we treat people.
Right.
Yeah, and to second that, Village, add all of that onto yourself. How you treat yourself, how you love yourself, being combative with yourself and the mental thoughts. Like, the only thing that counters the dark is light. In the example that we heard, and the two, so constantly feed positivity into yourself. And just my last nugget of love is the overstimuli. We talked about people coming from PTSD, and we talked about electronics can overstimulate us. And so when you have to have those times of quietness, it could be very uncomfortable and triggering, because now I got to figure out what's going on in here. So just know that these are all normal things as you begin to exercise your mental health. Don't think that you're crazy. We all are. And these are the steps to getting a healthier mindset. So yeah,
I love that.
Village, yeah, my call to action is identify triggers. Know that you've been through trauma, especially if you're in this community.
Right.
You've been through trauma.
Yes.
So you have triggers. You got some stuff to work through, and it's okay. Figure out what seeds you got planted in there and what you're watering, and we will be okay, And we are a little crazy.
I love it. Yeah, I'm going to challenge you all to watch watch Pastor Lorenzo's video. Listen, It Takes a Village podcast. They're doing great things. So if you're just coming in, or if you came in the middle, please go back and watch it from the start, and go over there to his page. It's in the chat here. Subscribe to his channel. And thank you, Pastor Lorenzo, for inviting me to be on here. Thank you, Ariana. I always say you're the most beautiful spirit and person I know. And I mean that for real. I've told Pastor Lorenzo all the time, she's got such a beautiful spirit. She's like a magnet, and I just pray continued blessings over you as well. And I'm so appreciative that you guys had me on here. Beautiful topic. We need to have more of these. And thank you everyone who's watching. Thank you, everybody in the chats. Appreciate y'all for being here too. I got to get this lighting fixed. Thank y'all for being here.
Mine was flickering too. Something's going on in the atmosphere.
Because we bringing so much light. This natural light is having a problem trying to adjust to the light we're bringing. That's what that is.
All right.
But again, I want to thank Ariana and Regina both for being on the show, because when I say it takes a village, I really mean that it does take a village, because we all have different perspectives that we come from and different things that we've been experienced with, that we have been exposed with. So what we do here, our purpose is to let everyone know that we are all important, no matter where you at in life, no matter what's going on. I tell people this all the time: if you have a voice, you have a product. And if you have a post, you have a purpose. So we all can bring something to the village. Never feel like you can't add to the village, because you can. So we just enjoy everybody. Like I said, we do apologize that we had a guest that was supposed to be on here today, and for whatever happened, we'll get back with her later and then find out why Janae Lynette Culver wasn't able to make it, because she's have a lot of things she deals with for her mental illness and stuff that she wanted to speak about. So we'll reach out to her again. But, we still want to have the conversation on mental illness, because it's so important these times, because there's just so much going on, and we can't allow what we don't know to interfere with what we do know, and we know that everybody together can overcome whatever you're dealing with. And remember, just because the world say it's a mental illness does not mean it's a stigma that's negative. That just means you're dealing with something that somebody else does not understand. So therefore, that's why they look at it like that.
I love it. I love it. Y'all are great and amazing.
We gotta develop the village. We gotta get back to, like I say, the village concept of each one helping one, because the village is very important. And if we get back to the village, I think the world itself will be a better place.
That's right. That's right. And God bless you too, 88, Lady Virgo, Shay B, Dustin, all of y'all that's in here. Thank y'all so much for being here as well. Shay B, I see you in there, girl. Julius, how you doing? Thank y'all for being here. Thank you so much, Pastor Lorenzo, for having us on here.
All right. You have any last words, Ariana?
You had mentioned about it's taking a village, and the importance of everybody coming on, being involved, sharing knowledge. So I just want to remind the village, the comments. I know that we mentioned, subscribe, like. Your comments are very essential too to be a part of the conversation. So thank you guys for being a part of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yes. And you have anything you want to say, Regina?
I said what I said.
No. No, I do want to invite everyone back tomorrow. We have a special collaboration with the Diva, the Chronicles of Gray Hair Diva. She's going to be here tomorrow. We're going to be talking on some things as far as women supporting one another, helping, listening to the cries and the silent cries, and also the whispers of those who may be going through some traumatic things. We are having the topic as far as what's going on with Diddy and some of the allegations that are about him. But we really want women to be those strong voices for women who may not think their voice is strong enough. We need to start helping them. So, help support. So we're going to be here tomorrow having that whole conversation over here at the Juice at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Y'all come on back tomorrow at 3 p.m.
Definitely. Good stuff.
Yeah. And we want to say thank you to all the guests as well, everybody that's in the comments and everybody that has things to say. And we always say, if you want to be a guest or you have a topic or a subject that you want us to speak on, always, DM us and we'll get it out and we'll talk about it, because there's no topic that we won't or can't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing. If it's out there, we can talk about it, because we got to quit being scared to handle the tough topics.
Don't be scared.
Right. Right. So, but again, we appreciate everybody's time. We appreciate you, Regina, for just popping in. Like I say, you're always welcome to come in and stuff. So I'm gonna start sending you the thing I'll always forget, because I know normally you're busy and you do so much, and I know you need to get your time to refresh and replenish. So
yeah, talk about a woman making moves.
Yes.
I'm always here for you, Pastor Lorenzo. I'll pull over to the side of the road and do interviews and get online for you, Pastor Lorenzo, because listen, not just because you do it for me, but because you are worthy to be invested into. And the return is going to be so much great, not just for myself, but for others. So people out there, you're looking to get a great return. You're talking about, trying to be blessed. You're talking about, you need to start investing in people like, Pastor Lorenzo. It does not take money. It does not take money to invest, and God will bless more of that than the money that some of y'all be throwing out, some of these programs that y'all be some of this stuff for. So, I have that whole conversation on my platform again. Money wasted. That's what we're gonna have a conversation.
Right. Seed planted in ungood soil. So
that's right. Right. Good soil over here.
All right, everybody. So this has been the Takes a Village podcast with again, my name is Pastor Lorenzo Evans, my co-host Ariana Turner, and our special guest co-host Regina Agwan with the Juice Radio and Talk Show. We are all together here for the village, and we have great things that we're coming up. That's going to be coming up. That's going to just be so powerful. So just stick with us, and again, like I say, we here to bring back the village concept, one person at a time, and we will do it. We will not be denied, because failure is not an option. So. Have a good one, and we will see y'all back here in about 2 weeks.
All right. Be blessed.